Friday morning, can't control it. Fired up and counting every minute. Hands are shaking, eyes are burning. The time has come, yeah, this is not a warning. The week was just so long, we had to let it go. Our problems disappeared, we're not tied up anymore. The weekend is here. Sunday calls, we are sick and tired of it. Up and down, can you feel it? Up and down.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Johansson show. It's Kurt. Today, got a special guest, somebody that I know from the wrestling scene, especially here in Hull, that has been doing some fantastic things. Been a long time coming. I know we only recently reached back out to try and make this happen. But ladies and gents, Scott Bell. Scott,
Yes,
thanks for coming on.
Thank you for having me. Pleasure.
Really excited, and you are the first referee that I've had on the Johansson show, like under this umbrella. So no pressure there. Just to say,
I feel privileged. I feel very privileged.
No, I'm really excited. Like everybody that comes across, like every time we've bumped into each other, or everybody that speaks about you just speaks so highly. And recently, that's been a testament. Like you've been doing some fantastic stuff, which we'll get into with Rev Pro. But like to kick things off, when I've spoken to the likes of Nathan Cruz and Matt Myers, a mutual friend of ours, they've all just sang your praises so highly. They just say, like, when I'm like, right, who should people be watching out for? And they'll say some wrestlers, but every time you're mentioned, and it's like one of the up and coming referees. And not only is the referee, there's like, he was great at wrestling, but he just turned around and was like, actually, I want to be a referee. How does that feel?
Yeah, it feels class. Like you know, I wanted to be a wrestler when I first got into it. Like, be 3 years ago now, I think, when I first started training NGW. And then sort of like I started feeling the bumps a bit more, and I was like trying to think. I started watching the referees more in wrestling matches than I would actual wrestlers. I thought, you know, I could maybe give it a go. Like Charles Robinson's one of my all-time favorite referees. I thought, you know, I wouldn't mind giving it a go. So I sort of put my eyes to the side and said, do you reckon I could maybe, you know, give it a try? I said, yeah, that's fine. We'll we'll learn your basics, etc., and all this lot, and we'll go from there. And sort of stem from that week after week after week. I'd do training matches, and then Myers got my first gig at BWR, and it just sort of spiraled from there on and to where we are now. And it's just it's class to know that, you know, people like Myers and Cruz think so highly of me, because realistically, I don't see it myself, because I'm my biggest critic from stuff like that. But yeah, it's class. It's class.
Yeah, like these past couple of years, you've been just blowing up essentially. Like you do one, and then before I know it, seeing all over Facebook, like doing another one, and then it's these two, and now this one, and then you've just recently travelled down to Portsmouth for the Rev Pro tapings. So it is a testament to yourself, but I find it interesting the fact that everybody sings your praises of how sound you were in terms of training to be a wrestler. But what is it that made you choose to be a referee over a wrestler?
You get hurt less. That was my main thing. But I just sort of thought, you know, I could be a part of this without. I know it sounds really thingy, but like putting my body through all that. And I love putting my body through, you know, through all the bumps and that. But I don't know, it's just something about just the reffing which has always sort of got to me personally. Like, I always wanted to be a wrestler, but it just, I find refereeing is like more interesting to me personally. You know, don't get me wrong, I still do training matches and stuff with, you know, like Corey and Reese and people like that, which I absolutely love and adore. And everyone says to me, like, why are you wrestling? I'm like, I'm just loving refereeing too much.
Yeah.
And as well, like, I find it easier, I know it sounds quite cliche, but like to get bookings. Yeah. Because there's not actually that many referees about. You know, wrestlers. You know,
at least decent referees.
But yeah, there is that as well. And like, I firmly believe, like, the best part of one of the main factors of a wrestling match is the referee, obviously for many reasons, but a good referee can help build a story.
Yeah.
And these, you know, I think them types of referees are quite hard to come by unless we've been in it a while and they've been trained by some really good people. But I think, yeah, being a referee just brings a whole different element to it, and you get more involved in it. I mean, I've been in some matches where I'm just sort of like, I get lost in it because I'm just too busy enjoying what I'm seeing.
What was the first match where you did feel like, actually, no, I've got a job to do, because you were just in awe with how good it was?
It would have to be Cara Noir and Robbie X at North. Because there was just so much going on. And it was just like bum, 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 bum. And I just found myself just getting into it with the crowd.
Yeah.
And it was the same at Wrestleverse with Wrestleverse.
That was such a good match.
Oh, yeah, but it was class. Like, both of them, and people are just so good at what they do. And Robbie should be everywhere.
Yeah, agreed.
Like, I cannot sing Robbie's praise enough. He should be signed somewhere at least.
Yeah.
But yeah, like another one would be Eddie Kingston versus Rory Coyle at North as well. Like North give me some really good opportunities, and that's one of them. Like again, it's more the crowd behind you, and you're just getting lost in it with them.
Yeah,
because like Rory and Eddie can tell such a good story, like mainly with weapons. Like, you don't need to do these fancy moves like, Canadian Destroyer and stuff like that to tell a good story, and they prove that. And you just, like I say, you just get lost in it all. It's just like, I'm actually meant to be refereeing here.
No, that'd be like fantastic, especially with like Eddie, the stuff he's doing now with AEW.
Oh, yeah.
He's just showing everybody just how good he really is. And he's quite a vocal wrestler, like in terms of with the referees and stuff like that. Was that something that was shown in your match that you might have had to like work around with?
Yeah, he was very vocal, like from the beginning. Like the whole setup of it was meant to be like a normal singles match.
Yeah.
And then it turned into a no DQ match halfway through because we sort of like toyed with the weapons, both of them. And then like the fans wanted it, so we sort of like brought me into it and said, look, fans want this, we want this, let's make this a no DQ. So obviously I brought Tom Campbell out, we like talked, and then Eddie took the mic and said, we want no DQ, are you good at referee? I'm good at it. If you're good at it, I'm good at it. Let's fucking do it. That's what he said. Like but yeah, like throughout, like he was just like, I think he likes to keep everyone involved in the match. Yeah, he was just such a nice guy to work with as well. Really nice guy. I mean, a lot of people think like, people who've, been busy quite a while can be quite daunting to work with.
Yeah.
Like, he was just so sound. Like, so easy to work with.
I can imagine, but because of his character as well, sometimes it's like, right, is he like legit? Is this what he's like? Because he's just so believable. You can't imagine him being anything else other than that. So what was your refereeing debut?
My refereeing debut was at BWR show, and it was BWR Underground Redux, I think it is. Redo, I may pronounce it. It's basically a follow-on from a show that got cut short because Cole Quinzel had hurt himself in the ring. And it was Chuck Wood and Jack Wellington versus Simon Lancaster and Harry the Hammer. That was my introduction to refereeing, which was interesting to say, on the least. But it was good to be in there with Matt as well. Yeah, because obviously he's the one who's trained me and he got me a gig. And then like the next show was a BWR show, and I got put with Session Moth.
Oh, class!
So I got
grinded. How was
that
for
you? I was a bit like a cat in headlights, to be fair.
I can imagine.
Started, like, doing all the moves, and I was like, what am I going to do? So just started dancing.
Just stood there like a lamppost.
That was literally like me, and then she was like, start dancing. I was like, I can't dance. She was like, do it. I'm like, okay, man, I'll just start doing that dancing.
Like Chandler out of Friends or something, just like.
I never felt so awkward in all my life, if I'm honest. But it gave everyone a laugh, so that's the main thing.
Do you want to dance with Session Moth again then? Would you like to ref another one of the matches?
Tell you what, the match was good fun because it was her versus Kanji.
Yeah.
And like Kanji's like
fantastic.
But yeah, it was more like it's more to bring out Session Moth's the comedy side, so I was quite heavily involved with that. But yeah, it was good fun to ref, really good fun.
Yeah, I think Session Moth must have been involved in one of my like one of the funniest matches I've probably ever seen, and it was Sendai Girls in Manchester, and it was, again, it's one of the matches that stands out. Like, we had Tony Storm versus Miko Satomura, we had Dash Chisoko versus Kaylee Ray. Yeah, I always remember Session Moth Martina versus Iga.
Yeah.
And if you're not familiar with Iga, try and think of like The Ring, or is it Grudge, where it's just a girl, black hair, looks like a ghost. And that's kind of like the character. So as they're going back and forth, Martina's running away, runs out the curtain, and then all you see is Iga running out like, and Martina's chasing her, pulling a Henry Hoover.
Yeah.
To try and do the Ghostbusters, just to hoover up the ghost. And they was just doing that. And like, everybody was so, like, if you go into a Sendai Girls show, you go in there because you love like, you love Joshi wrestling, you love women's wrestling, and it just proved that there's a place for comedy wrestling, because everybody absolutely loved it when it was competing with such high quality matches.
You've got to look at people like Grida.
Yeah.
Like, people like when Grida came to Hull City Hall, that was the first time NGW sold. I think it's maybe the first time. That first time, to my knowledge, anyway. That NGW sold out Hull City Hall because Grida was there.
And that speaks volumes. Like, when Ospreay was there against Robbie X, not many people knew who he was because of the fan base. They're not the hardcore internet fans or anything like that. And when he came out, Robbie was the clear favourite from start to finish.
Yeah.
Whereas Grado, despite it not being a hardcore internet crowd, again, sold out, everybody loving it, everybody up and dancing to Madonna.
Yeah, like I was there at that show as a fan, like, and I'd only heard of Ospreay through Ricochet stuff.
Yeah,
mainly. So, and I thought, him versus Robbie, it's gonna be class, and it was, to be fair.
Yeah, it was a great match, and it's nothing taken away from Will. If anything, it's putting it towards Robbie, the fact that he built such a good rapport with the NGW crowd.
Yeah, it's funny, like, when did you remember No Fans Monday?
Yeah.
Wrestle Talk. Like, Robbie was doing stuff in the ring, and like Ospreay was like in awe of what Rory was doing in the ring. Like, just like before the show, just messing about. Yeah. Like, I think he was doing his handspring where he doesn't actually put his hands down off the ropes.
Yeah.
And Will was like, oh, you got to teach me that, Rob. I was like, that's pretty class.
I always remember with that show as well, there's so many people online, especially those from like America and stuff, because Ospreay like put it over massively. Like, it was essentially his show with Wrestle Talk that was producing.
Yeah.
A lot of people from around the world tuned in, and so many that I'd seen over Twitter just like absolutely loved Robbie. And like you said at the start of the podcast, it's a criminal that he's not signed.
Oh, without a doubt, without a shadow of a doubt. Like, I can't believe it's been this long. Like, yeah, he's gone unsigned. It's madness, really.
Yeah. What was it like refereeing on No Fans Monday then?
No Fans Monday, like, it was weird. It was
that was essentially the first No Fans show in the UK.
It's pretty class when you think of that. Like, it was like sort of like, it was quite daunting because it was a big show for me. Because I was originally meant to be on the was it like Wrestle Talk versus
It was I can't even remember what it was.
Like Wrestleverse,
Soul, NGW,
all like.
Battle of Brit Rest, I think it was.
Yeah, and then that was cancelled, didn't it? Yeah,
because I was supposed to be doing a preview to Battle of Brit Rest, and the day I sat down to record it, it'd been announced, no, that's cancelled. It's now going to be No Fans Monday. Oh, okay, looks like I'm doing this one.
So luckily, I'd already had that booked off work, and then like Nath messaged me, so are you still free for that Monday? Like, yeah, I've still got work. Like, oh well, we've got this show like No Fans Monday, and I was like, oh, okay, that's cool. And I looked at who's going to be in the card. I was like, shit, it's some quite like good people. Like, a lot of people I've worked with before, like, you know, like Lucas, Nathan, Max Dead, people like that. Yeah. Robbie, of course. But like, with Osprey on the show, it's like, yeah. And it's the first time I got to work with Tom Scarborough, and Tom Scarborough was sound to work with as well. Yeah. But yeah, like, it was so weird because you've got to compensate for not having those fans there, so you've got to make yourself louder.
Yeah.
It was same on Rev Pro, which we'll probably touch on later. Like, but when you realise then, like, you look down the lens and there's thousands of people watching live, and it hits you, and it's like, shit, But it was weird at first, but once I got that first match over with, like, just sort of got the ball rolling with it, and I just felt so comfortable with it all. Because once you get a feel for it, then it's fine, really.
Yeah. Would you say that's one of your highlights of your career so far?
Yeah, without a doubt. And like, I class Rev Pro as it. But every show is different, and every show is sort of special to me in their own way. But yeah, I definitely say that's one big highlight. Especially with the amount of people who are watching it on YouTube. It was class.
Yeah, it was incredible. It's interesting though, with you going through the NGW Academy, not making your refereeing debut with NGW. Yeah. I think that's somewhat unheard of, where somebody's coming through an academy but makes their debut somewhere else.
Yeah, I know, it's a bit of a weird one, isn't it?
What was like Rich and everybody like the fact that you've made your debut at BWR, and because eventually you work in GW. Yeah, but what sort of feedback did you get from like the guys at NGW, your academy?
Like everyone, like Nathan and Mike especially, were like ecstatic with me. How we're doing at BWR and stuff. I think it was maybe like only like 4 shows in. I went to start at NGW. Yeah. And I started off, at Proving Grounds, and sort of went from there with that. But Rich was fine. Rich sort of carried on booking me for Proving Grounds and places like that, and like the shows at Paddington. And then he was like, one day messaged me, he was like, have you ever left a show at Butlins before? I was like, yeah. I was like, right, great, let's do it. Let's do your first show at Butlins. And that's got to be one of my highlights as well. Butlins, like, just 2,000 like people screaming their heads off, and you can't hear a single thing. And that's another way, like, where you get lost in it all. Yeah. Because they're enjoying themselves so much, and it's like, they're just making so much noise at like nothing, like TikToks, yay! It's like, okay then. But yeah, like from then on, like Rich kept booking me for Proving Grounds, and not so much like Hull City Hall shows, which I'd love to do more Hull City Hall shows, because it's it's Hull City Hall, and it's my home city. It's Hull, like. I mean, I got to work at Brilliant Spa, which is like 29 minutes down the road from me, where I've seen wrestling like for years and watched other things at Brid Spa, so that was pretty cool. But yeah, I'd love to do more big shows. Like I did, I refed a Keithley one on my own, which was pretty decent to do. But yeah, like definitely want to do more Hull City Hall shows.
Yeah,
I mean, I love doing the Proving Ground because obviously a lot of the people on the Proving Ground shows are people I train with.
They're all your mates.
So it's class just to work with them more than anything. And like a lot I know a lot of people are divided up, but a lot of people enjoy Proving Ground shows more than the City Hall shows. I know it sounds really thing to say that, but actually, City Hall shows are more story driven, aren't they?
Yeah.
And your Proving Ground shows are basically more like a house show. And up until like now, where they've started finding more story driven things, like with Reese and Rogan and Boom and Kevin that. But yeah, definitely I definitely want to do more Hull City Hall shows before I bow out, so to speak.
What was your first City Hall show?
First City Hall show was the Destiny Rumble.
What was that like? Is for people listening, it's like 1,000 fans at these shows.
Yeah,
it's sold out, beautiful thing, a beautiful arena. So what was that like for you?
It was one of them pinch me moments. I was only brought out. Basically, I was a lamb to slaughter for Rory Coyle.
Yeah.
Because he came out with a chair, and I took a chair shot. So it was class up until then, obviously, because that hurt. But yeah, it's one of them pinch moments. Like I'm actually making a debut now at Hull City Hall.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just so many people going wild. And it's just like, you know, I'm making my debut in my home city for my home training, you know, on our main show as well. It might be the same night that Corey, no, maybe the second one, that Corey made his debut. So it's quite special to sort of share them guys. But yeah, it was just mad up until when I got hit by a chair.
So, what other companies other than like NGW, Rev Pro, BWR that you've been working with? You mentioned North earlier.
Yeah. Worked with North twice now, I believe, 2 or 3 times. I've worked for FFW, which, you know, I've got quite a good working relationship with Becca and Dutch at FFW. Like, FFW is another place where it's, you know, class to work for. You actually feel like part of the family.
Yeah.
FFW. Mega Slam. I worked for Mega Slam. Where else have I worked? I did the last Defiant show.
Okay.
It's no coincidence that the first show I do, it's the last show. I didn't single-handedly shut down Defiant. Just want to put out there. Where else have I worked? I've worked DNA Wrestling. I'm sure there's more.
Did you do any of the WrestleGate shows?
No, I didn't, unfortunately. I'd love to have done. Wrestleverse, of course, yeah. Wrestleverse. I was one of the first enforcer of justice in Wrestleverse.
What was your thoughts on the whole concept? I absolutely loved both shows.
It was strange at first. I was like, it's going to be weird having these people, you know, in these different gimmicks, because I'm going to end up shouting their for you know, their normal gimmick name rather than their Wrestleverse name. But I just loved the whole concept of it. It was so different from anything else.
Yeah.
Especially like Rampage Brown coming out as Rampage Johnson with his knee pads on his thighs and stuff like that. It was class.
Was it Rampage Clown on the second show?
Rampage Clown on the second one, yeah. Unfortunately, obviously, we won't see that anymore because he's in WWE. But yeah, Rampage Johnson and Rampage Clown, because Rampage Johnson never sort of
clicked.
It never clicked with anyone in the audience, because like it was funny because like once he got into a ring, he looked up at Rich in like the balcony and he went, nothing, because no one got it. I suppose you've got to be sort of quite a niche audience to get the whole Ahmed Johnson gimmick. But I think Rampage Clown would have been the way forward.
It was intimidating, and like Nathan, Lucas, and Miles came in as the outfit was absolutely quality. I said that faction there would be able to go on any company with that gimmick.
Oh, that like the vignettes alone will go. But like you've got like the young one, like obviously Lucas, like the powerhouse, and obviously the Kappa. It just fits so well, and like you say, it could go any company. And you could fit it. You can fit them anywhere, couldn't you? Really?
Yeah.
Put them in any sort of match.
What style wrestling do you prefer refereeing then?
I quite like the fast-paced, like Bobby and Cara, because that's sort of what I used to watch when I was sort of studying wrestling. Being like a small guy, I used to watch Cruiserweight quite a bit.
Yeah.
I'm sort of into that. As sick as it sounds, I quite like deathmatch wrestling. I've only had one death match refereed, and that was at BWR.
Who was that?
That was Clint Margera, Michael Caden versus Tyler Devlin and Rory Coyle.
Nice.
And there was so much glass. Like I cut my knee wide open. I didn't realise until I got back and I got changed. I was like, because I wear it like supports on my knees, you know, so I don't get Matt burn. Basically looked down and it was red. I was like, oh, shit, that's not good. But yeah, like they used so many light tubes. They used jumper cables, I think, and they used a shower screen, I think, as well, which wasn't too great. But it was just absolute carnage. Like I spent majority of the match outside the ring because I couldn't be anywhere near it all in the ring.
Nah, I really enjoy BWR. I think what they were doing in such a short moment in time, like I thought was incredible. I thought it was really well booked. It was really well put together, and the crowd loved it. I thought.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see what the Project Restart they're going to be doing will look like.
Yeah, like every show I've been, like BWR again, it's like you're part of family.
Yeah.
Every show I've been to has been class to be a part of, and to work with some great people at BWR. But yeah, like I think BWR is just another company which has just grown. Because like people hear about, oh, do you go to see wrestling show? Oh, in Grimsby, BWR. It's sort of come word of mouth, and so many people like. I think we pretty much sell out the Memorial Hall every time we go there. You know, that's pretty cool to say. We sell out every time. I think we've just got such a good following as well, which has stuck by them, which is decent. And Grimsby Cleethorpes is a brilliant wrestling scene anyway.
Yeah. Do you feel like BWR is like your home promotion then, although you trained with NGW?
Yeah, I'm sort of torn on it in a way. It's just sort of like, because nothing's sort of been said on the show front for NGW at all. So, and obviously BWR have, started pushing forward Project Restart stuff. But I'd say, because I've done more shows I've done more shows for BWR, so I'd probably class it as one of my homes.
Yeah.
NGW will always be my home for as long as it runs, because that's where I grew up in, so to speak. But I think BWR is where I've flourished.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, definitely. It's definitely where I've sort of honed my craft more.
Okay. So before we continue, like everybody can probably see the Undertaker thing.
Yeah.
Behind your shoulder, like show everybody your belt. Show everybody the Undertaker belt.
Oh God.
Look at that.
I won't tell you how much that cost me.
No.
An arm and a leg.
I can imagine. But you are quite the belt collector. How many belts have you got?
That one, I got the Hardcore Championship, the United Kingdom Championship, Winged Eagle, Big Eagle. I always forget one. Sure, got more. But yeah, that's all I can remember off the top of my head.
What is it about belts that make you collect them?
I've always wanted one. And then I started off with the United Kingdom Championship.
Yeah.
And it just sort of went from there. It was really expensive to have it. It was actually Myers who was selling the United Kingdom Championship. Because I don't know if he'll let me tell his story, but he bought it when he was drunk.
Okay.
So,
I was thinking, like, why's Myers got the UK Championship? But wait,
yeah,
why was he drunk and bought it?
Yeah, I don't know. I think it's one of them impulse buys. I think he wanted it, but realised, oh shit, Abby's gonna kick off if I if I've got this. So he sold me it, and I think he rebought it, or he sort of said he never got the got his package, so he got another one. Typical Myers, isn't it?
This is where Myers gets something through the post because somebody's listening to this and grasses him up.
Yeah, I know.
No, I've only got one title.
Yeah. Ah, nice.
So the original NWA X Division, and I did manage to get it signed by Kaz and Daniels.
Oh yeah.
When they came over for Ring of Honor,
yeah.
I took them the title, and I was like, "Oh, you don't see much of these ones because it's like it's one of the first X Division titles."
Yeah.
The one and only, and I didn't even have to buy it.
Didn't you?
No, one of my buddies, Nathan, messaged me saying, "You at work?" I was like, "Yeah." He was like, "Oh, I've bought you a flat warming present." I was like, "Nathan, I've been living in my flat for about 5 months." And he was like, "Oh, well, are you on your break soon?" I was like, "Yeah, I'll come meet you." And I was like, "What's this then?" Pulls out a bag, X Division title belt. I was like, are you kidding me? He was like, "Well, I know you like X Division and TNA." He was like, "It's a happy housewarming." I was like, "Well, I don't know if the missus is gonna let me hang it in the flat, because it was
Yeah.
it was a small flat at the time before we bought this house, and I was like, but top man, cheers.
Yeah, that just reminded me. Like my first wasn't United Kingdom. The first was the Winged Eagle, and it was a lad from training who, because I used to like passing by. See, we lived in Bransburton and I lived like in Driffield, so I was passing by anyway to go to Hull, go to and Eastmouth, and he was like, "Oh, I've got something for you," and he handed me his belt. I was like, "What's that for?" I was like, "Oh, well, you take me every week, so I've given you this because I've got 2 of them." I'm like, "Why have you got 2 of them?" They're like, "Oh, my mum accidentally bought 2." I'm like, "How would you accidentally buy 2?" But like, I wasn't grumbling. Like, I got a belt for free, so I was like, "Sick," and that's sort of where it stemmed from. Then, and obviously the Myers thing, and then yeah, like I always wanted the Big Eagle because Big Eagle was my favorite,
Yeah.
without doubt. And then up until recently, like I always wanted Hardcore Championship. I don't know what it was about it, but I just loved it. So I got that recently, and like now I've just put a cap on it. Like Kev always messages me about new belts coming on. I'm like, nah, I can't spend any more money.
Do you want to buy a signed TNA X Division title?
I'm all right. Like all this in this room cost me enough. Like I've got like, as you can see it. There's all my stuff there.
That's incredible.
There's a signed card I got from 2K14 and stuff. That's the only signed Undertaker thing I've got. I'm realistically, I wanted to get the belt signed, but I don't think that's going to happen.
I'm surprised you didn't do the cameo thing they was doing.
So, if you've got a grand spare, Kurt.
Hey, I've just had a kid. I don't have a grand spare.
I definitely don't have a grand spare.
So earlier on, you mentioned Charles Robinson being your favourite referee. What other referees have you looked at? Like, obviously, you mentioned yourself. Even as a fan, you started watching what the referees were doing more than the wrestlers. So now that you actually go out and study, who is it that you study, especially from way back when, and who is it in today's era that you look at?
Today, they were like mainly when I started refereeing, I started looking at Chris Sharp.
Yeah.
Like I started watching loads and loads of Chris Sharp like videos, and like when I referee now, like I think Reese was the first one to say it. Like he said, "I see a lot of Chris Sharp in you," and I'm like, "I'll take that." But like Chris, like has helped me so much as well with refereeing. Like I worked at Megaslam, and he was Chris. Chris is one of the nicest people you'll ever meet, and he'll go out his way to help anybody. And for that, I'm like really grateful.
What's the best bit of advice he's given you?
God, there's so much. Because normally it's sort of like if he's at a show, he'll just stand at the back and make notes, and it's so much like to go through it. Best bit of advice he's given me: try not to use your watch, which I've tried to do.
Yeah.
It's helpful if you've got a clock at the back of a room, but some places don't actually have a clock at the back of a room, so it's quite hard to keep your timings. But it's just mainly like stuff like like to improve on and like be more vocal, be more. I'd actually say one of the best bits of advice is he said to sort of build up the drama with your pinfalls, to put more effort in towards your near falls.
Yeah.
Then that'll bring the crowd up as well. Again, like the referee is there to help tell a story, and if the referee is just going 1, 2, whatever, it's gonna bring the whole momentum of the match down. I think.
Yeah.
That's what he meant as well. Like if the referee's putting all into it, and like just before that free count, like he kicks out. It's like no, it was only 2. Like it pops the audience more. I think.
Yeah.
Like it makes the audience react more to that. Like, no, that was 3 and all this lot and so and so. Yeah, definitely. That's one piece of advice I've always stuck in the back of my head when I'm getting through a match.
Yeah.
I know what bits I'm at. Getting more towards knee falls. I know I need to build to keep it going.
Have you ever worked with Steve Linsky?
No, I've watched a lot of Steve when I went to help with the World Sport Tour.
Yeah.
That was good to watch, and obviously NGW as well. Excuse me, as well. As well, like I think he was like the mainstay ref at NGW for like ages, wasn't he? So
yeah,
I've seen him quite a bit.
Yeah, I think it was the Liverpool Olympia Brit Rest Fest show where I think it was like Jodie Fleisch's return against Johnny Storm. Grado was on the show, and there was so much going on, and I can't remember who it was that had asked him, but I always remember I was speaking to Linsky, and somebody asked him for a bit of advice, wanted to be a referee, and just one of them that stood out was, again, similar to what Chris said, always give it your all on the counts.
Yeah.
It was like, make sure your arm's extended, you slam it onto the mat, but don't ever pull out your count. But what if I hit the 3 count and like, but that's not your problem. If you're extending your arm properly and you're not doing the fast count and you're doing it just naturally, it's their job to be able to kick out of it. It's not that.
Luckily, that's only happened to me once.
So when that happens, how do you react? What was it? Where you've counted the 3, or you've had to pull out from counting the 3?
Oh, to be fair, it's happened. I've counted the 3 once, and I pulled the count once as well. When I pulled the count, it was Proving Ground 50 of all places in the main event. And it was meant to be like a Survivor Series style tag match, and it got to down to 2 and 2, and like I knew the finish in my head, I sort of like thought in my head, oh, it's now a tag match, so I know the finish, but I forgot, oh, someone else needs to be eliminated here.
Yeah.
So it was actually Screwface and Dave Graves, and Screwface gets small packaged. And I'm like 1, 2, and I stop. I'm like, that's not going to finish, and then I cover it by going, shoulders up just by a little bit, and so really did the spot, and then counted 3 for that, and it went fine after that. But yeah, like another one was when I counted 3 with the FFW, the tag match with Reese and Rogan actually, and they won.
I see. So it wasn't by mistake. You thought, I'm just going to make my boys win. You're wearing one of their shirts. You trained with them.
I've got to rep my boys. But basically, it wasn't the intended finish.
Yeah.
Don't know if maybe Brett Myers got injured or something during it, and that was sort of just go with it sort of thing. Because I heard Reese like saying kick out, and I counting the 3. And I was like, can't do anything if he doesn't, because obviously from men I learned just to it's the wrestlers' job to kick out.
Yeah.
If they don't kick out, then that's it. So I counted 3, and then like there was a lot of confusion with announcers as well, because obviously they're sort of in the know of it as well. And I was like, that's it, ring a bell. And I actually got praise for it backstage by Becca. Like,
oh, good.
It's good. She said it's good to know that you're professional about it and you just stick into your job.
Yeah.
Because it's nothing worse than when you're trying to do a job and people just don't stick to rules, and you're just like, do I DQ you or not?
Yeah, I think especially in the early days of AEW, that was one thing that kept getting criticised, was the amount of times the refs was having to pull the hand, and you could tell that they've delayed the count, and it's online, it's the referees that are getting the stick for it, but it's what do? Make the count and make the result go a different way to how it was booked, or get the flack of like the internet. 'Cause again, it's not your fault. It's your job is to raise your arm and slam it on the mat 3 times, and they've got that to get out. So it's good to see that Becca had like applauded you for that. Was Reese and Rogan booked to win?
Yes, you were.
Yeah.
Just wasn't the intended finish.
Yeah.
That match.
So it'd have been interesting to see how it'd have gone if they weren't booked to win and you've still put it down. But I'd like to think, again, you'd be praised because although it's not the result they wanted, again, they've got to do their part as well.
Yeah, I mean, luckily that's not happened yet, touch wood.
Oh, it's going to happen and you're going to blame me.
Yeah, I know. God damn you, Kurt. But like, I've had to call matches early. I won at Megaslam. Guy called Liam Coward hurt his ribs, and he was coughing and spluttering. I thought he'd obviously broken something there.
Yeah.
It was against Leighton Buzzard. IWW. Both phenomenal athletes and like guys to work with. But I was like, just go home. Go. It's not worth it. Just take it home. Just end it here. And that's what we did. And they said, they pulled me to the side after and said, you made the best call for that because Liam was proper struggling through that match. So that makes me feel quite good that I made the right decision with that.
And I think it's stuff like that. That's the reason why you're getting the success you've got now. Obviously, everybody's going to be able to see in the upcoming Rev Pro shows, especially this the tournament for the Southside Heavyweight Championship. You're going to be working on those. Like, when did Rev Pro, how did all that come about for you?
Basically, I got a message from Screwface. Saying, "Oh, are you free on so-and-so dates?" And I was like, "I can try and book off work," which luckily I did. And he was like, "Oh, I'm traveling out to Rev Pro, and I need a referee, so I thought of you first," which is, I was quite sort of taken aback, Jamie thought of me, before anyone else. And it sort of went from there. Like, me and Jamie travelled down to Rev Pro for 2 days, and it's such a class experience working for Rev Pro. Like, Rev Pro has always been one of those companies I've always wanted to work for.
Yeah.
And to actually be there and work for them was just like bucket list moment sort of thing.
Obviously, this will get released after the the first show, but I don't want obviously spoilers for myself. But what was one of your favourite matches from that weekend?
I don't know if I can say.
What was your favourite first round match then?
First round match. Well, I think on this Sunday I'm only in one of the matches, because I think it's Oscar's matches which are all on there.
Okay.
But I'll just say it was a class to get to work with Chris Ridgway.
Okay.
And it's one of his matches which is sort of peaked to be one of my favourites as well.
Yeah.
I have to say.
Ridgway is incredible.
I've never ever got to work with him, and before COVID, I was booked to go to North, and he was booked there as well. And I was like, I'm gonna finally get to work with Ridgway, and then COVID bugged everything up. So I was quite glad when I saw my name next to the match. I was like, get in.
So, obviously, driving from Hull to Portsmouth, 4.5, 5 hour gig for you. Is it something you wanted to do more of, though, working for Rev Pro?
I drove from Drift to York, then from York to Portsmouth, to pick up Jamie. So it's 5.5 hours for me, which I don't mind driving because, you'll ask anyone, I'm fine with driving long distance.
Yeah.
I did a show for Iron Fist, and that was that was up near Wales. And I didn't realise how far it was until I got there. I was like, this is shit. That was an experience in itself, working for Iron Fist. But I went with Corey, which was quite good. I've completely forgotten the question. What was the original question?
Wanting to work Rev Pro more often.
Definitely. Without shouting out, I'd love to do more shows for Rev Pro, and I hope they consider me. Andy Corbin was quite happy with what he saw, so I'm hoping, fingers crossed, I get more work down the line for Rev Pro because I love working for him.
Yeah. Is there any other independent promotions you wanted to work for?
Progress is always one because I've been to see so many Progress shows. But I think I'm quite happy with what I've got so far going on. Yeah. It's always good to work different promotions because you get to work with different people.
Yeah.
But it's always good to have that for set promotions because you know everyone there. You know who you're going to be sort of working with. BWR is good to work for because you've got all the originals, and you've got them bringing in people like James Drake and Zach Gibson.
Yeah.
So it's always going to be a surprise each show. Definitely. I can't really think of any off the top of my head what I'd love to work for. I mean, Progress is definitely the main one for me. Yeah. That's it. Definitely.
Is probably a silly question, but is NXT UK is that the goal?
For me personally, WWE isn't my goal.
Okay.
I just enjoy doing what I'm doing at the moment. like traveling up and down the country, meet new people, working with new people. I mean, it'd be awesome to work for WWE once upon a time, but I think my sort of tattoos hold me back. I know like WWE have got a thing for, is it referees with tattoos or like clear skin basically. So I've been told. So it's sort of off my radar. But if it comes around, it comes around. Yeah, I'm just really enjoying what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Working for promotions and working.
What about for when AEW eventually come over? Because obviously they'll do AEW Dark tapings, they'll do Dynamite. I imagine they'll bring some of the referees, but for Dark, they may want to use local referees.
It'd be nice to see more of that. Like, you see a lot of developmental wrestlers on things like that. It'd be nice to see a lot more referees come into it. Because I think this last year, there's been a boom of referees in the UK. Like, when I first started, like, nearly 2 years ago, in February, I started. Like, there was literally, like, no one.
It was the same couple of people on every show.
Yeah, exactly. Like, there was only sort of me, Rich Swift, John Myers, James Greenwood, and people that like sort of up in our area. Chris Sharp, obviously Manchester based, but like we were dotted everywhere, weren't we? Like, but it's been good to see a lot more people getting involved with it and becoming referees. But also it'd be good to not have that, because then I get my work. But yeah.
Would you ever consider going back as a wrestler?
I'd say no. Because I love doing what I'm doing in training, like working with like people like Corey and Reese and people like Jack Spiv, who's wrestles under Jack Maxwell. I think would be one to watch in the coming years, because he's so underrated at what he does. I think if he gets that opportunity, sort of showcase himself more. I don't know if you've seen him at any Proving On show, have you?
I'm not too sure. I don't think so. I might.
I think if he gets a chance to showcase it more, that'll be, I think, the sky's the limit for Jack. I've completely forgotten.
Well, who else would you say for people to look out for then?
Definitely Reese and Rogan, because I think there's not many tag teams like them around.
No.
Like, they're that old style brawler type, and a lot of tag teams these days are flip this, flip that, Canadian Destroyer, Super Kick, and like especially like Corey with Lariat, like just looks so mean. But them two just like, even though they look like brothers, obviously we aren't, but like we just work so well together.
Yeah.
And I don't think you get that as much. Like, I think Crash Boat as well, they're a good tag team to watch.
Yeah.
Rise. As for people up and coming, like I said, Jack. Like there's other people in training, like called Dion, who wrestles on the Hartman Dan. Like, it's just come on like leaps and bounds in the last year, especially like sort of when lockdown first started, and then it sort of got lifted, and then we could travel to like we travelled to Nottingham.
Yeah.
House of Pain to go train there. Like, we just hired a ring and did our own like drills and matches like that, and like just seeing him that space of time, he's come on so much. I think it's just finally clicked in his head. It's just class to see. Like, I mean, he's only 8. I think he's only 17. I think, and it's just insane. Like, he just gets it. That's all I can think of. Like, people to watch out for. And there's probably so many people. Some of others. Like, I'm quite looking forward to seeing sort of the evolution of Scotty Rourke. Yeah. Especially now he's gone in singles. I think again the sky's the limit for.
Is he not going to be teaming with Coyle now?
I think Coyle might have finished altogether. I'm not really sure the reason behind it.
Yeah.
But I'd say, for me personally, I think Connor needed that, to showcase himself more, because Connor's on his own. He's phenomenal. In himself. So I think seeing that evolve as the years, like as BWR will go on, I think it'll be good to see where he can get to himself, like, without a tag team.
Yeah.
Which he's more than capable of, without doubt.
Oh yeah, he did fantastic stuff, like with BWR. him and Coyle being tag champs, wrestling grizzled young vets, and like putting on a great show. And then the ladder match with Cruz and Myers as well. Was absolutely fantastic. But Scott, like, obviously, congrats on the Rev Pro stuff. Like when I saw you post that on Facebook and stuff like that, that's incredible. Like, you deserve that. And it's good to see you doing so well, like so quickly as well.
Yeah, it's just sort of all been a blur, really. Like, I've only been doing it like just shy of 2 years.
Yeah.
And it's just, well, I suppose if you can't really count this year. But like, hey, I've done my fair share like this year. Like, I've done like 3 or 4 shows this year, maybe 5 shows, which isn't too bad. Like, I think there's a couple of BWR ones, Wrestle Talk one, and obviously Rev Pro. But yeah, it's just been mad. Like, I had like one crazy weekend where I was booked Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then I had like double headers, and I was like, how did it become this? Like, I've still got, like, I look back and think, like, how the hell did I get to where I am now?
Yeah.
And it's just like, I can't believe it some of the times. Like, I'm so lucky to work with people I'm working with, to work for the companies that I work with. It's just like I never thought in a million years that I'd be involved with wrestling in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah.
I thought I made it when I was ring crew at like World of Sport, and then like did Fight Forever Wrestling, and I saw the Godfather and Cody Rhodes. I was like, I've made it now. But it's just crazy, really crazy. Like, I hope it continues for years and years to come, because I love doing it.
No, that's great. So, where can people find you on social media?
Social media, my Instagram and Twitter are both at RefSGB93. So quite nice and simple to remember.
Nah, fantastic. And again, like, good luck with all the stuff with Rev Pro. Hopefully it does lead to more bookings for yourself with that company. Just don't forget us little guys when you're famous.
Oh, don't worry.
Brilliant. Well, everybody, make sure you do go check out Scott. And if you've enjoyed it, make sure you hit like, make sure you hit subscribe, have a look at my other interviews from people here in the UK. A lot of the people that were mentioned today, like Matt Myers, Nathan Cruz, Reese and Rogan, Leighton Buzzard. And also have a look at my Scandinavian and my Southeast Asian wrestling playlists on YouTube, interviewing people all over the world. And again, hit like, hit look. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching.
Friday morning, can't control it.